Ready?
Oh, I'm ready.
I'm ready to talk about this. I've been wanting to talk about this for so long, by which I mean a day, but it's felt like a very long time.
Time ceases to have any understandable meaning once you've seen the great mission to rescue Princess Peach.
So, welcome to RPG Book Club Movie Nights, the podcast where we watch a movie that's sort of related to a video game that we've recently played. I'm Sam Allman.
I'm Bernard.
And I'm Trish.
And today we'll be watching the Mario anime. I can never remember what it's called.
Super Mario Brothers, the great mission to rescue Princess Peach.
Yeah, that one. But before we get to all of that, how was everyone's week?
I, for a long time, have been interested in getting into fighting games, and I've never done it because it seems like it would take a lot of time and effort, and I'm already committing time and effort to a lot of things. But today, I played a bit of Tekken, by which I mean I played a bit of Tekken 1 for the PlayStation 1. For some reason, I turned it on and played a bit of it, and it was fun. I didn't know what I was doing. There is no training or tutorial or anything, but I just did some of the arcade mode. I played as Kazuya. He has good kicks. I played as Law. He's Bruce Lee. I played as King. He is a kitty cat.
All you need to know.
I really love I'm not into fighting games, but if I had to be into a fighting game, I would probably choose Tekken because it is to me the perfect combination of extremely goofy and silly, but also with like weirdly deep and intricate lore.
Yeah. I mean,
and also really big eyebrows.
Yes, there are good eyebrows and some wild hairstyles. And a bear. Well, the two bears, actually, I think.
Oh my. That's a lot of bears.
I don't know if I'll actually get into, if I'll actually, buy and play Tekken 8 or whatever, but I think if I want to get into a fighting game, I probably want to get into Tekken because even though it's apparently a particularly difficult one, I've heard that the way you choose your first fighting game is you just choose the one that looks coolest to you. And Tekken looks really cool. I like that it's on a 3D environment. It makes it look a lot cooler, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm. My only fighting game that I've ever been moderately good at is Tekken 3 for the PlayStation 1.
Mm-hmm.
It's a good one. I would would depend on if I was playing my older brother or my oldest older brother or my next oldest brother, because the oldest was an asshole and was better at the game than me. So the secret character in Tekken 3 is like literally Satan, and if you hold R1 and R2, whatever combo of the fight pad that would go out to, he just jumped in the air and breathed fire everywhere, and it was basically unblockable bullshit griefing move, and I would do that over and over again if I was fighting my older brother.
That's what I did. So I specifically only really played Tekken, and I think it was the same Tekken at arcades. Like if I was at the bowling alley, I would do, and I would pick Ogre, and I would do the stupid breathing fire move because it was fun.
Yeah.
Apparently Tekken also has some sort of wooden puppet named Mokujin, the training dummy made from a 2,000-year-old oak tree. Mm-hmm. That's cool.
Very cool.
Yeah.
It's also got a fully licensed character in it, which I think is hilarious.
Who?
Gon. He's a manga character from somebody unrelated to Tekken.
And then Tekken 7 had some wild guest characters. Some guy from Walking Dead and Noctis.
Wild.
So for my week, a couple things have happened, but probably the thing I'll say for I'll do for the podcast is I just because like I've been needing a thing to be doing while listening or like like having a game to play that I don't need to pay attention to. I have reinstalled Pokemon Legends Arceus and gotten back to it, and by getting back to it I've continued what I was doing before, which I haven't actually finished all the post game. Like I've finished the main story really, but I haven't done all the post game content. But that's not what I'm doing. What I'm doing is getting a perfect on every single Pokedex entry in the game.
Nice.
Now, if you've not played Pokemon Legends Arceus, that's not that's not an easy thing because with each Pokemon in this game, they have a bunch of different tasks and different levels of doing all the tasks. And to get a perfect, you have to do all of them to the max. And like for some Pokemon, that's not very hard. For some of them, it's grinding for hours and hours and hours. For example, Silcoon and Cascoon, I had to catch a certain number of them and I had to beat a certain number of them in battle. And those only spawn sometimes in one area of the game when the game feels like it.
Beautiful.
And so I just constant, and it's not an easy thing like, oh, well, just clear the ones who are there. It's like, no, you can't control how often the stuff will spawn in. And so I just end up going in, checking, nope, nothing there. Okay, I'm going to go back to town, come back, rest a day, go back, check again, and just repeat this on loop. Maybe getting 1 to 3 of Silcoon or Cascoon each time, over and over and over again. The other infuriating thing is there's some entries that are like, oh, hey, you need to see this Pokemon do this move 40 times. So the
Ugh.
easiest way to do that, obviously, is to have it be your Pokemon and you use the move. Now, the thing about doing that is that if it's, say, the move Fire Blast, an actual move you need to do for Rapidash, the Fire Blast has a PP of 5. Use it 5 times, and then you run out. And there's nothing in this game to raise that. There's no PP ups. There's no PP maxes.
You can't get your PP up?
Giving you a look, Bernard.
I'm sorry.
You're fine. You're fine. Yeah. So that's just so much grinding business. But I kind of need grindy bullshit to do while I'm like watching Spectacular Spider-Man with someone or listening to someone read a book to me. Like it's good to have a video game to like lightly pay attention to while that happens. So I've been doing that. The reason you do this, the reason I'm putting myself through this grindy bullshit hell, is because having a perfect on a Pokemon's Pokedex gives even better shiny odds. And I like shiny Pokemon. In the course of since I've reinstalled it now, I have caught 3 new shiny Pokemon, all of whom are Pokemon I have perfect Pokedex entries for. One was a Buizel, which I'm not the biggest Buizel fan, but it's cute enough. Not a great shiny. And the other 2 were both Bidoofs, because Bidoofs are everywhere. And I have a perfect Bidoof entry. So I now have 2 shiny Bidoofs, and I was like, I guess I can I can evolve one to the Bibarel stage, so I'll have a shiny one of that too. But then I found out I have a friend who really likes Bidoof, so I'm gonna send that cutie a Bidoof as a courting gift. And hopefully you can really get bitches with Bidoofs. I hope. But yeah, that's what I've been doing. Sam, what about you?
So, ages ago, like maybe over the summer, but it might have been like even before that. I think it was even before that. When I was I was visiting my sister. She gave me a DSi and a DSi XL, both of which were too broken for her store to fix, and so they were throwing them away. And she's like, "Sam's a freak. I'll give them to him, and he can tinker with them." And after this week's news of Akira Toriyama passing, I was not doing very good.
Yeah.
And so I was like, I'm going to distract myself with a hobby that I don't get to do very often. And so I cracked these bad boys open, and my golden DSi XL I repaired 100%, and I've been playing Dragon Quest IX on it, and it's amazing. Portable emulator devices should have shittier screens so that it matches the pixels. Because like Dragon Quest IX does a thing where all the NPCs are sprites and all of the important people are 3D models, and you can barely tell on the DS because the resolution is so small, but it looks stupid when you play it on an emulator with anti-aliasing because you have these HD models and 16-bit people, and it doesn't work on emulator, but it looks fantastic when the resolution is tiny. And so high off of fixing this one, I was like, well, let's crack open the regular DSi. If I can fix that one and hack it, I can give it to my partner Cass, and we can play old school Pokemon and be able to trade together. It'll be awesome. I'll do it. And that was the nastiest fucking thing on the inside. I have pictures, but they're on my phone. I don't have my phone with me. I'll share them later. But
You don't have to if they're nasty.
I mean, I'm honestly curious, but I'm like morbidly curious.
It's all like corrosion nasty, not like actual
No one
grossness.
opened it, threw up, and then closed it
closed
again.
it back. Yeah. And so I did not think I would be able to save it like at all, period. But I was like, I'm gonna get into it anyways. And on the back of it, one of the screws had completely stripped because it was so rusted that it just was soft to the screwdriver, but not soft enough that I could have just like knocked the rest of it off and just pulled it over the post. It was sticking on there and I couldn't get anything about it. But I knew if I were to save this, I would be saving the motherboard and buying all of the replacement parts. So I had my flush cutters with me, digging in to get stuff out. And then when I got to the motherboard, two of the motherboard screws had rusted so hard that like I couldn't even do the super glue trick where you super glue an Allen wrench onto it and then you have all the leverage to take out the thing. It would just, the super glue wouldn't hold because it was too rusty. And so I had to also use I used a drill to go from the front of the DSi to put me a little hole right around where it's supposed to be so I could then cut off the bottom of the plastic post with my flush cutters. And I finally got it open, and it was absolutely horrifyingly gross on the backside of it. But I used a bunch of baking soda and a bunch of alcohol, and I brought it back to life, assuming there's not like a capacitor missing that I'm not aware of or whatever. But it looks pristine now, and I'm excited because for about $45, I can turn this this motherboard into the Kingdom Hearts DSi, which if I were to buy one is like $300. So I can get like a $300 thing by just getting replacement parts and doing it for $45. So
that's very cool. I'm glad you could do an Evanescence on that
yeah.
DSi.
Absolutely.
It sounds like there's also a car alarm that's really excited.
Yeah, I heard that. And now it's gone.
You know what I'm really excited about?
This movie.
This movie we watched.
I'm very excited about this movie we watched.
All right, let's listen to. All right, you are about to hear the best fucking song in the history of anime, and after that, we're going to start talking about this movie.
Okay.
I was like, when I was about to watch this movie, I was like, we're always like, the music interludes for movie nights is always a challenge, but it's not a challenge here. We have two very good songs that are completely isolated and will be great.
Yeah, there sure were an awful lot of completely isolated, no other sound effects musical breaks in this movie.
There were. The film begins with Mario playing video games when he really should be sleeping, an activity that no one who is recording this podcast right now has any experience with whatsoever. Luigi enters the room to chastise Mario for staying up so late on the Famicom. But after leaving, things get serious. A bunch of strange creatures emerge out of the TV that you might recognize if you played the hit video game Super Mario Brothers. And then a woman, Princess Peach. She begs for Mario's help, something she needs because the evil King Koopa is after her. He also emerges out of the television, and after some prompting from Peach, Mario tries to stand in the villain's way, only to get squashed into the ground and for Peach to be taken. Evidently, in this canon, the Mario brothers run a grocery store because the next day we find Mario is distracted enough at work from the necklace that Peach dropped that he completely messes up a woman's order for cake ingredients.
Also, I think we should note this movie came out in 1986.
Mm-hmm.
One year
after Super Mario Brothers. And one thing I find very hilarious is that a lot of this is, taken straight from the plot of Super Mario Brothers. That plot was just a very it takes place after Mario Brothers, which takes place in Brooklyn, and they go into a magical pipe and find themselves in the Mushroom Kingdom, and Princess Peach was kidnapped and everything. However, this grocery store is not in Brooklyn.
No, it ain't. It really isn't.
It's in the middle of the desert. There's cacti, and it looks like Looney Tunes land. I love it.
Also, I should point out, I just had to check the timeline. This movie came out 1 month after the Japanese Super Mario Brothers 2, the American Lost Levels. 1 month after that. So that's the timeline.
It's wild to me that I don't know, the game was already big enough for this to happen. And I was looking on the Wikipedia page. Apparently it's tied for being the first film based on a video game, because also a game based on a movie based on Star Soldier came out the same day.
Oh, wow. Also, this is the first piece of Mario media, at least I saw somewhere, this could be incorrect, but this is the first piece of Mario media that credited Shigeru Miyamoto as the creator of the Mario series. Because his, before that, back in the day, video game developers didn't really get credit.
Yeah.
But this was a movie.
Thing. Yeah.
But this was a movie, so he was allowed.
And also, another fun fact, we probably should have done a little section on the history or whatever.
We should have,
but another fun fact is apparently, according to Wikipedia, maybe this is inaccurate, but this is apparently the earliest isekai anime to involve a virtual video game world. Which
I love it. If that's
I
true,
would say it's a little arguable whether that's actually a video game world or if it's just another world.
It is. Well, it's not the video game he was playing.
Yeah, but when Peach gets kidnapped and Bowser takes her back into the TV, it says game over, I think.
It does, yeah. Anyway, when Luigi sees the pendant, he freaks out and pulls out a book that talks about this very specific piece of jewelry. Apparently, in a legend, it's supposed to lead to a kingdom of incredible treasures and mushrooms. And Luigi's primary character trait in this movie is that he wants money, so he's really excited about this. If that doesn't sound like Luigi, it doesn't really look like Luigi either. In fact, with his dark blue and yellow color palette, he honestly looks and acts more like Wario.
I hadn't thought of that. But yeah.
Before they can further consider how to use this necklace to find the kingdom, a very strange-looking dog enters their store and takes the necklace away. They chase after the dog, which eventually leads them to some pipes, one of which transports them to another world. There, they find an old man who explains the plot of Super Mario Brothers to them. King Koopa's kidnapped Peach, the denizens of the Mushroom Kingdom have been turned into bricks and stuff, that whole shebang. He recommends they start out by seeking the 3 power-ups before reaching the villain. The mushroom, the flower, and the star.
Kind of wild to think there was a time when there were 3 power-ups in the entire Mario series. How far we've come.
From there, we get the music montage as the heroes go out to try to save the day. By which I mean it's literally like a cover song about them saving Peach, put to extremely cheap travel animation. Literally, some of these montages are repeating loops of about like 20 frames. As they make camp for the night, the two start to get really hungry, and a pair of Goombas tempt Luigi away with some mushrooms. Or the promise of mushrooms, rather. When Mario, who had nodded off, wakes to find his brother is gone, he runs off to find Luigi has eaten laugh mushrooms, which are a thing he knows about. They do exactly what you think. In order to solve the problem, he gets Luigi to eat some crying mushrooms and angry mushrooms. But just as it seems Luigi's doing better, Mario gets taken away by a paratroopa to be fed to her bird children.
And here we reach the part in the story where Mario gives children drugs.
You know what? Anyway, Mario saves himself by feeding the chickens some of the mushrooms he still had on him. And that's when Luigi got brought up to the nest for food. And Mario tricks them into thinking Luigi is rotten, and then has the kids ask their mother for Hamburg steak. So the mother goes away to get them Hamburg steak, and they are like, okay, we'll climb out of here now. And hey, just so happens the super mushroom that they're looking for is right above them. But after they get it, they immediately start to fall off the mountain. But the chicks fly to go catch them, which works just well enough for them to not die from the fall damage. And then all the mushrooms around them turn back into toads, who are all women and all very into Mario.
And I think the artists were into them, just the way the way they're drawn and animated.
Some of those toad ladies are really gorgeous.
So, Toadette confirmed 1 year after
none of them are Toadette. The one from the later scene is Toadette. I'm telling you, she's the one who had the right color palette. Anyway, they thank Mario and his brother and send them on their way. We get another song and travel montage. Not a different song, just more of the same song.
I mean, I'll listen to that song as many times as they want me to.
It's a good song. They are guided to a flower field by some Goombas, only to find that or the same Goombas from before, rather, only to find that it is full of piranha plants. They defeat the creatures, but then a Lakitu starts attacking them. Now, if the Lakitu plus a flower field is reminiscent of like a chapter from an RPG we just played, you're not wrong. But here, instead of throwing like the spinies and then they start crawling, the Lakitu throws them in ball form and then has to do a whole set of weather manipulation to get them to emerge into the spiny form and to then attack the heroes. Mario uses a beanstalk to defeat the Lakitu, take his cloud, undo the spiny weather thing by just doing the thing again. And then a toad lady shows up and they get the fire flower power up. Except it's just called the flower, not the fire flower here.
Man,
and the cloud, the cloud was the toad woman, who does look like Toadette.
This movie's weird.
It's so weird.
It's like dawning on me again how weird it is.
I did put this in my notes, but before we started recording, my wife came in to insist that I bring this up, so I'm going to. In Japanese, Lakitus are named, I'm probably going to pronounce this wrong, Jugamo. They're Jugamus, which is based off of Jugamu is a famous Rakugo story. Rakugo is a form of Japanese spoken entertainment. It's like if stand-up comedy was also like a bard routine. I don't know how else to describe it in a short time period without prepping an explanation. Anyway, there's a whole joke in the movie about that. Apparently, this is a thing that gets referenced in a lot of media. I got it in.
I sure didn't know any of that watching this, and I was pretty confused by this scene. Although I will say
there was a translation note. There was a translation note about it.
I think I missed the translation note, or I don't know. But I do appreciate how a single Lakitu is such an impediment for Mario and his brother, because that's true to the game.
I was going to say, in the original Super Mario Bros., Lakitus might be the most frustrating enemy in the entire game.
I would say Hammer Brothers are
Hammer Bros
worse,
are worse, but
but
Lakitus can be
Lakitus
really bad.
Lakitus. They follow you the whole stage.
Yeah,
They're nasty.
and you get rid of him, and it's like, okay, he'll be back in 2 minutes. Good
Yep.
job. Anyway, we get another song and travel montage. And this time they find themselves pushed towards some mines by those Goombas again. And those mines are full of gold. Luigi is very happy because, again, he really likes money. But then it turns out that they are now trapped in that gold mine, and the exit is being guarded by a Hammer Brother. Mario is really worried if he's going to be able to save Peach in time, which now means we cut over to the princess as King Koopa is being adorable at her, but she's having none of it. Seriously, I love that Bowser slash King Koopa, they can only call him he wasn't called Bowser at this point, in this movie, just like he has two modes. He has scary villain mode and the sweetest person in the world mode. And it's really funny how he just goes back and forth between them.
It is. It's. This is a running thing for me in this movie. I'm surprised of how reminiscent a lot of it is of later Mario stuff. But
yes,
a lot
because I don't remember if him being in love with Peach was a thing in canon that early, or if this is where the first time that showed up. I'm not sure.
Yeah,
actually.
I don't know if him wanting to marry Peach was a thing in the original plot outline for Super Mario Brothers, but honestly, his characterization
Dorkiness.
reminded me specifically of the 2023 Mario movie a lot.
Oh, really? I haven't seen the 2023 Mario movie, so I would not know.
It's
I was going to say it reminds me
fine.
a bit of his Paper Mario. Not as much this one, but especially the Thousand Year Door and Super Paper Mario. That Bowser as like kind of a sweet goof in it when he's not being an idiot.
Mm-hmm.
Sort of characterization.
So I just looked up on Legends of Localization. The original Japanese manual does not say marriage; it just says she's in the clutches of the great demon King Koopa.
Interesting. Okay, then. So tentatively, this movie might be the first time that happened. Neat.
Also, I have a question that maybe someone knows an answer to. When was she first called Princess Peach? Because wasn't she originally Princess Toadstool?
No, Toadstool was an American localization. She was always Peach in the or in the Japanese version. The localization started calling her Toadstool to start with, and then eventually, I think with Super Mario 64, was when they made her Princess Peach Toadstool.
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay, yeah, because I was always under the impression that Princess Toadstool was just her real name, and then they started calling her Peach with Super Mario 64. So when I saw that this OVA has Princess Peach in it, I was confused. But it's a Dr. Eggman sort of thing, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the Dr. Eggman situation is made much more confusing by the fact that it feels like English and Japanese Sega teams hate each other with a fiery passion and actively try to sabotage each other's canon at all steps.
Yeah, that was a weird situation.
That was a very weird situation. Though I do say, again, I keep having to call him King Koopa in this script because he is King Koopa. Bowser's an American thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Even in Japanese, I think he's still King Koopa to this day.
The villain Bowser is an American thing. His name is Doug.
Yeah. Anyway, Peach is no matter how cute he is, Peach is having none of it because of, the kidnapping. She tries to trick him into caging himself, but it doesn't work. Also, King Koopa can shapeshift. I don't know what to tell you. It's just a thing in the scene.
In the original thing, all of the mushroom people have been turned into something, and and in every castle, the Bowser, when you defeat him, it doesn't turn into a dead Bowser. He turns into a sprite for another enemy. So it's implied that he has at least. He can turn things into other things is one of the powers that he has.
True. This is true.
They have to go off.
So
but also,
presumably, you sort of just have to make the connection. Oh, I guess he can change himself into other things too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I will say that the thing you're talking about in the original game only happens if you defeat the enemy, the fake Bowsers, with fire flowers. If you defeat
Mhm.
them with the axe, you don't get that weird thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh,
This scene where she's trapping Bowser, I really really like
it was
because
really good.
I read the actual fairy tale Puss in Boots for the first time this week, and this was a reference to Puss in Boots. So in Puss in Boots, he goes to an ogre who has this big castle that he's trying to steal the castle from him, and the ogre can shapeshift. So he asks the ogre, "Oh, I bet you can't turn into a lion," and then he does. "Oh, I bet you can't turn into a blah blah blah," and he does. And he's like, "Well, I bet you can't turn into a mouse," and when he does, Puss in Boots eats him, and that's how he steals the castle. And so that's what she was doing here, was making him do all of this nonsense things, and then she put him in a box, but he broke out.
Also,
He doesn't break out. The whole chest shapeshifts back into him. So it doesn't feel like it broke out. It just feels like he just like absorbed the chest and turned back into himself.
I think it's, you know, nice that Peach gets to have a scene where she like does a pretty good job of trying to escape herself. That's
Agreed.
nice. She doesn't just sit there the whole time. She gets to have some fun characterization there.
Yeah, I don't want to diss Paper Mario 64, which we just played through, but I do feel like as much as I'm glad they give Peach segments a thing, like that's a like you let's go check on Peach. She doesn't really do very much in like she helps out a couple times, but it feels like especially compared to some other games in that series, it's just like you could have done more with Peach here.
Yeah, I especially like it here because all of these are before Super Mario RPG, which was the first time that Princess Peach
Got
literally
to kick
did
ass.
anything in
Yeah.
Japan. In
No,
the
no.
US,
Super Mario Bros. 2 was actually before that, also in Japan, because that
they
was
got Super Mario
released in
USA.
Japan.
Yeah, but still, she got to do a lot, which especially at this point was not really a
Yeah,
thing.
true. Also, Super Mario Bros. 2/USA was originally supposed to be a Mario game, then was going to be then was turned into Doki Doki Panic, and then Doki Doki Panic was turned back into a Mario game.
You love to see it.
I
You
didn't know it
love
was
to see.
originally going to be a Mario game.
Yeah, apparently
Interesting.
early in development, the whole idea was, Super Mario Brothers was all about horizontal platforming, and they're like, we want to do vertical platforming. And so it's supposed to be a Mario game with vertical platforming. But then at some point, they're like, oh no, we're going to have it be with these characters who I think were like commercial characters or
Yeah, I
something
think
like
they were
that.
from like a magazine or something.
Yeah, then they turned it back into Mario, and it's solid Mario canon at this point. Anyway, Mario has a dream in the mind of being with Peach because he likes her a whole lot. And while he's doing that, Luigi has been useful and has dug a hole out of the mine. They escape, then have to deal with the Hammer Brother. They go escape into the ocean. Underwater, they have to deal with Cheep Cheeps and bloopers and some other dangerous fish, which are not in the game. Also, the Cheep Cheeps are really, really big and then explode into a bunch of small Cheep Cheeps that move really quickly.
When I was watching
Um,
this, I said aloud to no one, Cheep Cheeps, famous for doing that.
I mean, you could almost look at that as a future reference to Big Bertha from Super Mario Bros. 3, but not really.
Yeah.
There are some benefits to this whole detour, though. One, the star, which is inside of a clam, and two, a sunken ship which rises out of the ocean to fly, helped along by them blowing into its sails with their mouths. I don't know. I
Which
just don't know.
Mario and the dog start doing that while underwater.
Mhm.
Yes.
That's crucial.
Also, they talk underwater a lot
Yeah.
and pull out a book underwater and read the book underwater.
I love this movie.
Me too. It's
Absolutely.
If at point you hear me start being befuddled and you think, "Wow, I Trish didn't like this." No, I loved it. I'm
It's so weird.
I'm stunned. Um, The ship almost gets them all the way to Bowser's castle in time for the wedding, which is under a full moon on Friday the 13th. But then the ship falls apart. They still manage to crash the wedding before the priest Koopa can marry them. But then King Koopa gets away with Peach, forcing the heroes to chase them into the castle. You know, a bunch of Super Mario Bros. Castle stuff happens with fire bars and lava. There's this whole area with the lava and with like rising and falling platforms, like in the game. But my wife saw it and was immediately like, "Oh, that's like D&D White Plume Mountain," and I actually blinked and go, "Yeah, no, I get it. That is kind of similar." Anyway, they get to the final confrontation against King Koopa, and they're no match for him. But then they remember that they spent this whole movie collecting power-ups. And Mario has to eat them all, even though in the earlier music cutscenes we saw him using some of them, just in like off-screen fights.
Yeah, he used the fireballs to kill Buzzy Beetles, which
you
not
can't
how
do.
Buzzy Beetles work. No,
That's not how Buzzy. I was so mad. I turned to Marie. And I was just like, no, Buzzy Beetles are immune to fire flowers. That's why the new game Plus in Super Mario Brothers replaces all the Koopa Troopas with Buzzy Beetles because they're harder. Anyway, before he can eat the star, he gets knocked down, and Luigi helps him out, and he eats the last power-up. And then Mario does the swinging King Koopa around by his tail thing from Super Mario 64, except years and years before that happened. And King Koopa's defeated. Day is saved. There's a last-minute twist. It turns out Peach is actually destined to marry whoever has a necklace that matches hers. So you might be thinking, oh, so does Mario have something like that? Ha! No! It turns out the dog that was following them this whole movie was
and
actually...
making the worst sounds you've ever heard. This dog
was actually Prince Haru of the Flower Kingdom. You know, kind of like in the Castle in the Sky.
Wonder? No, I was saying from Super Mario Wonder, where you go.
I haven't played Super Mario Wonder. I haven't played it yet. I was referencing the Diana Wayne Jones book that was adapted into a Hayao Miyazaki film, namely Howl's Moving Castle, which has a prince that turned into a dog. Well, actually, I think the prince might have been turned into the scarecrow. I can't remember which one. Anyway, he turns back to human because King Koopa's defeated, and they're gonna be engaged now, and Mario's really sad. Peach kind of is like, oh, it's okay. And then Mario and Luigi go back to their home over the credits. The end.
Well, there's the post-credits.
There's the post-credit scene.
Wait, there's a post-credit scene?
Nick Fury comes and recruits the Mario Brothers.
This is frankly you.
No, in the post-credit scene, the lady who got the shitty pie ingredients comes to a grocery store, and the Koopas are rounding the grocery store at this time.
Oh my god!
She turns to the camera, does a weird ass pose, and then it says "Game Over." And
I laughed so hard when she turned to the camera and did the little pose. I lost my shit.
I'm watching it right now because I saw there was so little time left. I thought, oh, that's the end of the movie. Oh god! But yeah, that's the movie, everybody.
That's it. So we're going to listen to the other phenomenal song, and then we're going to talk about all of our favorite parts of this movie.
It'll probably take about 60 minutes, because that's how long this movie is, and I loved every minute of it, basically.
So, Trish didn't mention this in the.
Oh,
in
which
walkthrough.
one? Which thing?
The
walkthrough?
The dog looks like a Wiggler, and Wigglers won't be invented for 4 more years.
I hadn't put that together, but yeah, the dog does look like a Wiggler.
It does look like a Wiggler.
There were lots of things where I was like, is this a total coincidence? Did this inspire something in later Mario, or is this a reference to some cultural touchstone that I'm not familiar with because I live on the other side of the planet? Like, is defeating something by swinging it around by the tail, like, is that something some folk hero does or something? Or is it just wild that Mario happened to do that in this movie?
I have no answers for you. I only have to go, yeah, no, that was wild.
And
Also, we didn't
also,
mention weird things. Oh, please go ahead.
I was just going to say also, at one point Mario lands in the lava room, and he bounces back up in exactly the way he does in Mario 64.
There's a lot. The sound effects.
Mm-hmm.
They use sound effects from the game all over this movie and music, which is really charming and fun. Though occasionally I got annoyed because they would use the wrong one, like when they get taken by the paratrooper into the air, and then the underwater theme starts playing, and I'm like, "What?" And then they use the underwater theme properly later in the underwater scene, but I was still left going like, "Wait, what?"
There weren't a
Yeah.
lot of musics in the first
There
Super Mario
weren't.
Brothers. They had some of them are gonna have to pull double duty.
Every fight scene was underscored by the underground theme because it's the closest thing
Mhm.
they had to a fight song in the original. Oh,
There's
In
also the
the
product placement.
there's so
yes,
much.
um, yeah. There's one part where they reach some blocks and Luigi jumps up and hits a block and coins come out, and Mario's like, hey, I'm gonna try that too, and he jumps up and hits it, and little things come out. You can't quite tell what they are from the long shot, but then they're like, oh yeah, this is Mario ramen, I love this stuff. And they have a moment where they eat the instant
Mario
ramen
brand
with
ramen.
Mario on it.
It's very capitalism.
And then when he's about to eat the star at the end, he's distracted by Mario Furikake, and he's like, "Wow, this is really good. You should buy some." And then he puts it on the rice to eat it.
Yeah, it just
The
like
fact that it
appears out
interrupts
of
the final
nowhere.
battle is
And the fact that our hero nearly loses because of it.
this movie's one of a kind.
It's so
Um,
good.
I really want to imagine if they did something similar, but for the Legend of Zelda. Can you imagine a similar kind of thing with like a movie that came out in like 1988, or would it be 1988 or 1987, like a year after the original Legend of Zelda, that was like similarly weirdly prophetic, but also what the hell is happening?
yeah, I'm trying to remember. Did Zelda came out in '86?
It was
Yes.
86, so it'd be 87, yeah.
And then when did Zelda 2 come out? Did that come out? That came out in '87. So yeah,
Yeah.
it would be
But they worked on really
comparable.
tight release schedules.
Man, uh, I would love to see that. Maybe it exists. Who can say?
I mean, fun thing about this movie is it was considered lost media for a really long time, until someone uploaded it to YouTube back in the day, and then more recently, what we were watching was someone used original film, like like the film of it. They found a reel of it and used it to digitize it to full HD,
Mm-hmm.
do a nice remaster, and it looks gorgeous because of it. I
It
mean, gorgeous
does.
for a movie that was made for $20, but
Yes.
there are points where you're like, damn, there's just no in between frames there. You're just teleporting around. Okay.
Honestly, I think if you're listening to this podcast, if you like Mario, you should watch this dang OVA. It's 1 hour long. There is going to, no matter how long we go tonight, there's going to be weird stuff that we forget to mention.
Yep.
And it honestly, it was really funny. It had lots of really good gags.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it was not just funny in a, well, that was weird way, but there was, yeah, like, it was actually well made humor funny.
Mm-hmm.
Like, when the weird old wizard guy who is not from Mario
No.
is telling them the plot of the game, he's like, you're here in this land of great riches or something, and they're like dancing and singing about how there's great riches, and then he's like, and the princess has been kidnapped, and they continue dancing and singing, but now they're singing about how the princess has been kidnapped and stuff, and it's just a classic good gag.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and this movie is like equal parts. This is completely batshit because they didn't have any games with plot to base this off of yet. And also, this is 100% on brand accurate to Super Mario Brothers. And it is somehow both. It is fantastic.
Yeah, like it felt very much like it was created by people who actually were very familiar with the game. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, everything rang true to the game.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, the one, or you said this came out right after Lost Levels, so
Yeah, Lost Levels had come out like a month before.
okay, but Lost Levels is basically the same, just insane and evil. So,
Yes, it is. I recently beat the Lost Levels. That game is bullshit.
it is. It is. I think Tezuka is an absolute genius, but also an evil genius, and I love him. But yeah, Lost Levels is great. But yeah, this movie's wild. I love it. I'm so glad we watched it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely better than watching the Super Mario Brothers movie.
It's a good movie.
It's a good
It's
movie.
fine. It's fine. It's good.
Yeah, it's not
the
bad,
thing
but
is,
this is definitely better.
watching a movie takes so much like energy, like it takes too much spoons for me these days. So unless I'm doing it for a purpose, like for a, I don't know, a podcast, it's hard to get me to sit down and watch a movie. And hearing a movie is like, oh yeah, it's good, it's fine. It's always just for me like a, okay, well then I don't need to see it, especially if it's based off of a thing I love, and they put a very crisp rat in it when he shouldn't be there.
But they
he was
did put a Jack
honestly
Black and a Charlie Day in it, and
You know what?
that's
Those things
important.
are. Listen, I'm not gonna knock anyone on being appreciative of that. Those are good things to appreciate.
honestly, the wild thing is that Chris Pratt is not the weakest link in that movie. The
Please tell
weakest
me,
link is
is it
Fred Armisen.
Yeah, Fred Armisen fucking blows in that movie.
He, I,
who is he? Who does he play?
Cranky Kong, and
Why is
Fred
Cranky
Armisen.
Kong? Why is Cranky Kong in that movie?
They go to the whole Kong kingdom.
Because Mario is a spin-off of Donkey Kong.
I mean, you're not
That's
wrong.
why.
That's correct. But
But Fred Armisen, I like him sometimes. A lot of Portlandia skits are funny, but he fucking sucks in that movie.
He absolutely does. It like really let me down with how bad it
oh,
was.
oh,
Because when they announced the cast, and once we got past Chris Pratt's page, the rest of it is bangers all the way down. They're all really, really good. And I saw Cranky Kong for Fred Armisen. I'm like, that'll be wonderful. He'll be perfect for that. And he was not at all.
damn. My favorite Cranky Kong thing is I had the manual to. I think I might have brought this up last week. I'm trying to remember if it was there or somewhere else. I had the manual for Donkey Kong 64, which was written in the perspective of Cranky Kong, who was extremely annoyed at newfangled video games, and he thought games were much better back on the arcade machine. And it was just fun. It was really funny buying the game and reading the manual before you could play it, and having the manual complain to you about video games.
That is really cute. I love stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
I vaguely remember when I played The Sims 1, the instruction manual was either in the style of or included things that were in the style of a advice column.
Okay.
I might have made that up. I'm trying to find verification.
Some attribution. Yeah.
Anyway,
this movie was very fun, and next week we're gonna start playing a video game that is also very fun.
Well, actually, it's funny you say that. So we're actually taking a week off because
Oh, okay.
it's my birthday on Wednesday, and I'm having a big birthday party on Saturday. And instead of trying to find a way to fit in a lot of things next week, we're just gonna take the week off of both things, and then we'll be back a week after that. It lined up perfectly because we're not in the middle of a thing, so I was just like, we'll just wait, and it'll be better. So
I mean, I'm not going to complain about that. I could always use more time to savor one of my favorite video games of all time.
I actually ended up already playing the entire prologue of Thousand Year Door
Did you?
because
I mean, I
wanted
understand
to.
why. It's
It's
so
so
good.
good. I'm trying to decide if we should just cover the prologue for
The prologue is actually kind of long, especially
it,
compared to the first one's the first game is also kind of long prologue too, though.
yeah, but I think it might be fun to just do the prologue and then we can cover it sort of in depth and sort of set the stage for
I would like
how
that. Yeah.
weird and wet and wild this game is compared to the first one, apparently already.
Yeah. Well, like the way I always like to think of it is Super Mario 64 took the insane task of looking at the Mario canon as it existed at the time, kind of like this movie did, and going, "Hey, let's try to like flesh this out and like treat this like we're making an RPG here. We're gonna really try to like make this feel like a world with detail and people in it." And they did that really well. And then Thousand Year Door said, "Okay, we've really established the Mushroom Kingdom. Let's go outside of it. What does the world look like outside of any place you've ever been in a Mario game?" And they got really inventive and really weird and creative, and they came up with some really cool stuff. Also, some really dark stuff.
I am
There's a
excited.
noose!
Yep, right there. It's one of the first things you see.
I am
It's in
excited
the
to play it.
attract mode.
Since we're not gonna have an episode next week, Sam, if people get like wondering how to contact us or want to reach out to us about things, where can they do that?
They can head on over to www.rpgbook.club, where any and all donations will help us cover the cost of running the show and making it better and better. If you set up a recurring monthly donation, you also get some additional benefits, where if you donate $1 or more a month, you get nothing this week. I just said we're taking the week off. So, see you in 2 weeks. We'll be playing Kaseki then.
Well, I mean, you can get access to a backlog of stuff.
I mean, yes. So you do get access to the bonus feed, but this week there are no new episodes in the bonus week. Bonus week. I'm stupid.
It's the opposite of a bonus week.
It is an anti-bonus week. You also get access to our polls to decide what game we play next on the main feed. We are currently in the middle of fulfilling the last poll where they voted for both Paper Mario games, so we're playing them back to back. And then we have our sellout game is Persona 3 Reload right after that. So new poll will be up in a hot minute. And then if you decide you want to donate $5 or more a month, we'll also shout out your name at the end of every episode, just like this. Shoutouts to Cerebral Wind, It's Claire Time, Frost Terror, Dragon Slayer 19, Floris, Kaldron, Freddy Rodriguez, Aaron 524, and JFro Prime. And then finally, if you love us so much that you would donate $20 or more a month, you also get to make me say a sentence of your choosing, either to plug something or just to make me say something. Shoutouts to El Tantifi, who wants you to check out Aftermath.site, a worker-owned, reader-supported news site covering video games, the internet, and the cultures that surround them. Shoutouts to Vimke, who wants you to play Legend of Legaia because it's not as weird as this movie was. It's kind of a lot easier to wrap your head around. And then shoutouts to Carr, who's a dentist, so he isn't plugging a website, but rather your own mouth. And he says to brush your teeth twice a day. Most importantly, the time right before you go to bed. For RPG Book Club, I have been Sam Allman.
I'm Bernard.
And I'm Trish.
Toodaloo, folks.
Bye.